The government is being urged to increase taxes to fund social care amid reports it's on the verge of approving a rise of at least 1% in the national insurance rate. The former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt says the government must bite the bullet and raise taxes because the sums needed for both NHS funding and social care are eye-watering. But any increase in national insurance or income tax would breach the commitment the Conservatives made in their election manifesto. Angus Hanton is co-founder of the non-party political Intergenerational Foundation, which aims to protect the interests of younger and future generations. And he joins me now. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. What do you think then about an increase in national insurance?
Well, that would just be a tax principally on the young. In the context of COVID, the young have given up so much. They weren't the at-risk group. They've given up jobs. They've suffered in mental health. They've lost a lot of social interaction, which was valuable to them. And of course, they've suffered so much in education. So in that context, banging an increase in income tax on them seems so unfair. I mean, if they're graduates earning over $30,000 a year, they're already paying 42% tax. 20% tax, 12% national insurance, and 10% towards repaying student debt. It seems much more appropriate to put some sort of, if you've got to find this money, to something that the older generation can contribute for their own care. So maybe a tax on housing. There's been a huge windfall gain for my generation, huge gain from unearned gain in house price values, particularly in the southeast. Those could be taxed modestly, and that would raise a lot of money. Or we could do what the continentals do in Europe, or what the Americans do, have some sort of a property tax.
Would that, you said they could be taxed modestly and that would raise quite a lot of money. How would it compare with an increase in national insurance? And with national insurance, it's a kind of clear bankable amount. It's not, is it, when it comes to houses, because you don't know what decisions people might make?
It depends which of those routes you go, doesn't it? If you use a capital gains, a tax on capital gains, then, as you say, it's unpredictable, but it's certainly, you can make projections, and the Treasury do that. In fact, it could be done in such a way that you get quite a lot of money up front. If you said that you were going to introduce a modest tax, 5 or 10% on capital gains for the first couple of years, and then a higher tax, then of course a lot of people would bring forward their sales. So you could actually structure it in such a way as to bring more tax more quickly from capital gains on house price gains. But what is predictable is if you do a property tax. If you say, well, council tax is a tax for local services, but like other countries, we should be having a property tax where you pay a tiny percentage, maybe 0.5% of the value of your property each year in tax. And that would, of course, fall more heavily on the older generations who tend to be homeowners and tend to have more valuable homes. And that, it seems to us, would be more appropriate.
Away from the how to fund it issue, is social care something that is particularly concerning to the younger generation?
I think it's amazing how conscientious and caring the younger generation are. They really do care about their grannies and and older parents, particularly their grannies and granddads, and they are concerned about it. But there's only so much that they can be asked to contribute, especially if they're not earning enough to be making any meaningful savings. And of course, the younger generation have got such a poor deal in pensions, and the older generation have, relatively speaking, done so well with final salary pensions and so on. So it does seem that the younger generation need to be given some scope for saving. But there's a big unfairness as well in how national insurance falls, because at the moment, once you're over 65, you don't pay any national insurance, and so that's if you're still working. And that seems to us to be not appropriate anymore. It was probably quite reasonable at a time when older people weren't going to live so long, and when it was thought that there wasn't extra money needed. But now it would seem sensible to me to say national insurance should apply whatever age you are. And the Intergenerational Foundation research that we've done suggests that this would raise well over £1 billion a year, which is helpful, but it won't plug the gap that Jeremy Hunt's talking about.
Thank you very much for joining us, Angus Hanton from the Intergenerational Foundation.
Thank you.